up, folks? So this week I got some video footage of me changing out a light in a house that I've showed some previous footage on. The roof repair that I did, this is the same location. And I am going through and sorting out a junk box that sits on my workbench that literally, it's a big long bin that becomes a catch-all for all kinds of crap. So usually when I get the bed of my truck cleaned out on Sunday evenings, if I don't have anything pressing and it's raining outside, I'll go through this, try to sort it out every once in a while, thin it out so I can fill it back up in another 2 months. So I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and y'all have a great one. Alright, so I'm going to take you through a simple change out. This is the roof job that had the major leak. All this siding was falling down, so this is kind of a second job on this site. This house is getting ready to be sold. So that's where the major leak was. What I got to do is install a light there, take that out and put a light in, take it out and put a light in, and remove this fan. And those are Alright, so I got the old light out. All that's left is those 4 wires. And the reason that there's 2 whites and 2 blacks is because these are hooked up in series. So there's a switch inside here. When you turn it on, it's daisy chained from here. Then there's a set of wires that go from here to here, from there to there. That one more than likely only has 1 white and 1 black in it. That's the end of the run. That's the reason for it. And sometimes they'll pull that up in the junction box and you'll only see 2 wires, but it just depends on how they wire it. So I got everything cleaned up. Now I'm going to install the new fixture. So this is the bracket that mounts up in the ceiling. Normally there is a box, a metal box, could be plastic, just depends, up in the ceiling that you mount this to, and the holes in that box line up with these slots, which is what these screws are for. They're threaded for those boxes. However, they didn't put these outlets, the holes, they didn't line them up correctly, I guess is what I'm getting at. So the junction box is not lined up right. You couldn't probably make it work anyway because the siding's too thick. Sorry. So what I'm going to do is just use wood screws to screw that bracket into the ceiling, and then I'll show you how, I'll come back and show you how to actually mount this on this bracket. Alright, so I have my bracket mounted. I just screwed it in right there using actually drywall screws, but screwed them in, and now I'm going to splice those back about 3/4 to an inch. These are braided, so I'll pull that back and wire up my light fixture. So my light fixture has 3 wires solid copper, that's your ground. Usually the wire coming out of your ceiling will be this same color. It'll be bare with no insulation. Black to black, white to white, pretty simple. Now these are braided coming out of the ceiling, which more than likely means they don't put braided wire in your house. So this was likely in this junction box over here back when they wired the lights up originally. So I take it these lights were installed prior to this siding being put on. So ideally you would pull this all the way back to the junction box, rip that wiring out, and splice directly to the solid copper wires that are in the junction box. But I'm not going to rip all of this out to get to that. I think the junction box is over here. I don't want to tear all that up, so I'm going to just splice to these. It's been working that way for years. Another little trick I've learned over the years, especially with these really light fixtures. This thing don't weigh a couple pounds. Use your ground wire, which is what this green lug is for. Make sure you wrap it the same way that your threads go, and tighten that screw up. That will help hold that light fixture up there while you're wiring your wires together. So, little trick will help you out quite a bit. Some fans and stuff, heavier fixtures, actually have a bracket mounted on here where you can hook your light fixture to it while you're doing this wiring. Alright, decided to go get some, not use drywall screws, but I got some exterior screws to hold this bracket in. This is actually the last one in the series, and basically what you're doing is hooking the black to the black, white to the white. You're going to twist those clockwise, because when you put your wire nut on, it spins clockwise. So if you don't go the right direction, you'll undo what you just got done doing. Really hard to do with one hand. On your braided wires, you'll want to go ahead and twist those. Try to make it tight, like one wire, and put it on there, and shove your wire nut on. Like that, twist it clockwise. You don't want any wire exposed. And normally, especially when I do it, I'll go ahead and wrap this in electrical wire, black tape up to here, just to make sure that nothing's exposed, just for liability purposes. It's insulated enough that it shouldn't cause a problem, but always make sure you look around the wire nut and you don't have any copper showing out of the top. So when you go to push all this up in there, if you have something showing, it can short against your power wire or against here. That's not good. So you just do black and you push it all up in these two screws. Alright, let me give you a little insight to this one. I thought about this after putting this video together and trying to produce it, that there's a few things I forgot. That bracket that mounts up in the ceiling will only provide a ground on that little green screw that I screwed the light to hold it up in the ceiling if it's screwed into a metal box, and the ground wire that comes from the electrical panel is tied to that metal box. So if you've got a application where there is no ground wire in the box, electrical box in the ceiling, or it's plastic, that green ground wire is not going to provide a ground unless that ground is hooked directly to the ground wire going back to the electrical panel. So this application that you're seeing doesn't have this.
but just wanted to throw that out there. I know somebody's going to catch it when they watch this. There's really not a ground in this application. I would have to pull the siding back and get to the electrical box or the junction box in the ceiling and pull a ground wire out to go back to the light. For these low wattage lights, it's really not that big of a deal, and it's not worth the hassle to pull all that out, but that is what should have been done in this application.
Alright, so let me show you what I did. You just wire your wires up color to color. Black goes on black, white goes on white. And then there are slots in here. So there's a big hole here. Take this out. The same over here. Do the slots. So you turn it this way, push the screws through, and then lock it down. And all you do is just tighten these screws. That secures it to the ceiling. It's not going anywhere. Screw your light bulb in. I am not left-handed. This insulation is primarily for inside the house, so I could really rip it out. It's not of any value outside that I know of. But usually those boxes, the holes they cut in the drywall to push these out, leave air gaps, so they insulate the top and the bottom, or the top at least, to kind of give you some shielding from the exposure up in the attic. This being external doesn't matter. The one next to the bulb there is actually a heat shield, so that one probably needs to stay. So that's it. And then you take your globe. All these globes hook up differently. This one here just turns and locks in. There's little notches up here. That's it. You just turn it and lock it in. Done. So I gotta do 2 more of them and pull that fan out.